Look, detectives combing through the hood looking for a corpse. Draco hitting. I don't think your body can endure the force. I whipped the fish up with a fucking hanger or a fork. Told that bitch, go ahead, sniff what you want. There's plenty more to snort. I had an outstanding warrant for a short. Turned myself in, rocking Louis and all my jewelry. I wore the court.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode 89 of the Hard to Kill podcast. We have a special guest, a special Christmas guest. We're in the spirit over here. We got First Lieutenant Kagan Dunlap. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Psyched that you finally came on the show, man. Me and you've been going back and forth for a little bit, and I'm pumped to have you on here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I'm so busy, man. I'm like, I apologize. I couldn't have.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Earlier. I'm just like all over the place.
Appreciate you sneaking us in there, man. So Kagan Dunlap. So that's a different name, man. Are your parents like Irish and into anime as well, or how did that go?
My parents actually got my name from a folk song.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
folk song in Maine. There's a guy.
I saw that
up there where that's kind of where they got the name from.
So like Maine's definitely some unique individuals. I got to tell you, I'm from New England. I'm from Massachusetts. Now, okay. Does that make you a Patriots fan, or do you just you kind of go all over the place?
I've been a Patriots fan for a long time, but it's tough to say. I don't really watch as many sports as I used to.
I don't either. I hear you.
I'm so busy nowadays. I just don't have a lot of bandwidth for stuff. I still root for the Patriots, but I also been living in North Carolina for 15 years now total. So I kind of root for the Panthers too, and they're kind of an underdog because they've never won a Super Bowl. So I kind of rooting for them too.
I hear that. What do you how do you feel about North Carolina coming from Maine? You a fan or?
Yeah, no, I like North Carolina. I've been here since 1998.
Oh wow!
Oh my god! Give me 1 second.
Do you think?
About to get in crash up here, and it's gonna choke to death on something if I don't
Oh, you're a cat person. Gotcha.
Huh?
Gotcha. I would have pegged you for a dog guy.
Well, both of these cats, my wife rescued in New Orleans, and she was stationed down there. But they've definitely become my cats too, so they're our cats now. Gotcha. It's just more convenient having cats than it is dogs because I can leave them here and go to work all day long and not have to worry about walking a dog or anything.
That's true.
Box, this is convenient for dual mill.
Gotcha. So I obviously I follow your Instagram, and I saw recently, what was this, like a international gathering of violent individuals and Goonies that shoot guns? What was this?
Oh yeah, so Donut Operator and Brandon Herrera and Demolition Ranch put together a creator range day down in Texas, in San Antonio.
Oh, look dope.
Outside of it. But they're very well connected. Obviously, they've all been doing YouTube and social media stuff for, I don't even know, probably 10 years or more. I don't know, way longer than me. And they've got it down to a science. They all have, I think Demolition Ranch has 17 to 20 million subscribers. Donut's got I don't know, 6 million subs across all the platforms. And then Brandon Herrera's got another 5 million subs. They're all very savvy. They've been doing the whole thing for a long time. They're very good at it. Very well spoken, very, educated in the Constitution. Obviously, Donut does a lot more stuff having to do with law enforcement, and Brandon Herrera does a lot having to do with constitutionalist type stuff. Does a lot of, they're all firearms guys. Demolition Ranch is a veterinarian and also does the whole gun tuber thing.
No shit.
Okay. All really nice guys. Everybody there was super cool. They've all developed so many connections with all these YouTubers just from, I guess, being in the field for so long and getting to know people in the
space,
in the community, I guess.
Yeah.
And they had just a ton of people down there. My brain was melting all day because like everybody there was way more welcome.
Yeah, you had some heavy hitters, dude.
Yeah, I was like a nobody there. I was just like Joe Schmo compared to everybody else there. But everybody was like super down to earth. It didn't matter how popular or famous they were. They were all super cool. Chuck Liddell was there. Tim
Oh
Kennedy was
shit.
there. Chocolate Operator. Crispy Lemon Bravo was there. Matt Best was there. Like, Meat, or what's it called?
Mika Mayfield. You actually put me on to him, dude.
Yeah, Micah Mayfield was down there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Micah.
his video editor. I think Cody, Donut Operator's girlfriend, was there filming. Heather Lynn. Let me see. Caleb Francis was there. I mean, God, there's just so many people, man. Ballistic High Speed was there.
Damn.
Freaking.
Well,
Dude,
did you
so
shoot
many
anything?
people.
Did you get to shoot anything you hadn't shot before? Anything cool?
Yeah, I had a Thompson, a
Oh, that's dope.
PPSH. Yeah.
What'd you think of the Tommy gun, man? I've never shot one of those. I've always wanted to.
I was not expecting there to be as much of a kick. I was
Dip-
not prepared for that. It was
45?
45.
Yeah, it's a 45.
Yeah. Definitely didn't expect there to be as much of a kick. I don't know why. I just wasn't prepared. I hadn't maybe just didn't think about it. And so like I was like spraying a little bit, you know what I mean? I was like, oh wow, I probably should have like leaned into it a little bit more.
Did you have a drum on it, or was it a mag?
What's that? Oh,
Was
a
it
mag. Yeah, it was a mag.
mag?
It was a regular magazine, yeah. The PPSH had a drum on it, and that was firing 9 mil. So that was firing extremely fast. Oh my god.
You know, I've never got to shoot an MP5, and I've always wanted to. I always thought that a lot of people have said that you could get like a lot of rounds on target a lot easier with that. It's easier to manipulate or just, be accurate with, if you will.
Yeah, I've never shot an MP5, but they had one there. I just didn't get a chance to shoot it because I was so enamored with everybody I was meeting, and like there's so many different guns to like try out. Like, I mean, somebody had turned this. Somebody made a full auto, like a rifle that shot 30-06 in full auto. Yeah, and then another one that shot 308 in full auto.
That's a big round.
Yeah, it was nuts. Like it was pretty intense, but
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff there, man.
As Marines, we don't really get the opportunity to shoot like submachine guns that are automatic. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's always cool.
Yeah, we definitely don't get the chance unless you're in like MARSOC.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're in the sexy. But all right. Well, if you don't mind, Kagan, could you give my listeners a little bit about you? Maybe why don't you start us off with how you got in the Marines? What pushed you that route?
So I mean, originally I was trying to get into the Army for like let's see here, 6 years. And I couldn't get the waivers I needed because it was during sequestration. Right. So they were cutting back. I originally started the process in 2007, and I just couldn't get the waivers I needed to get into the Army.
Okay.
And the reason I started with the Army was because I lived with a guy who was an Army Ranger for about a year-ish, 6 months to a year. And, he would always be like telling me all these stories of the things that he had experienced when he was like, invading Iraq in 2003 when I was a junior in high school.
Gave you a moto boner? Yeah,
just real salt dog, real cool guy in Long Island. I actually talked to him the other day, or he's from Long Island, but that was where I got the seed planted, right? And I tried to get in the Army for a number of years, like 5-6 years, to no avail because they just weren't giving waivers for anything that I needed waivers for. So I ended up going to the Marine Corps recruiter, and I was in boot camp within a year.
They were like, "Come on, buddy."
Yeah, but it sucks because it's like, well, maybe it doesn't suck. I don't know. Like, I think ultimately it ended up being the way it was supposed to. I started the process, like I said, in 2007. So like, if I had gotten in right after I started trying to join, then I would have like been a part of like a peer
Afghan
group that actually
OEF.
got to go to Afghan, but
Yeah.
it took me
That,
till 2014 to actually get to the fleet. So I
oh
missed
shit.
out on all this stuff. And I was in 3rd Marine Division when I got there. So we were just doing UDPs to
Wait,
Okinawa.
3rd Marine Division out of Oki or
Out of out of Hawaii.
oh, out of Hawaii. That's right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We were with 2-3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in 2-3.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that. I forgot about that.
What year did you get there?
I got there in 2014.
Yeah, I was already gone.
Yeah,
by
we
then.
just got out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean, like, there were still guys around that went to Marja for the 2011 deployment with 2-3. Not many, though. Most of those guys got out. And, you know, I've met a couple people here and there that were in 2-3 over the years. Some of them were there in like 08, 09, 2010.
2-3 isn't 2-3 no longer?
Yeah, it's
I
retired.
know they
Yeah.
disbanded.
Yeah.
I was there in 09. Actually,
09?
yeah, I joined the Navy in 2008, February, Valentine's Day, actually. When did you join? You was around the same time, or?
No, he was 13, right? Or 13,
Yeah,
14.
13 is when I like depped into the deployed
Oh,
entry program. Yeah.
But you were trying to get in there before. That's what you were just saying.
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
actually
yeah.
joined in 2008, but then I was with I did the first deployment to Helmand in 2009 with
Oh wow.
that's the one we got the Presidential Unit Citation.
Okay.
That was
Okay.
that was one of 2-3s. Like, I mean, especially coming back from Iraq where they had just lost the battalion commander had got sniped, a couple other high officers that got killed in Iraq.
Yeah, I
And
heard
then
about that whole thing.
we
They
went
took
right back.
you got the battalion commander and the sergeant major apparently.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
VBIT or suicide, I think. It was definitely you can look it up. There's some stories on it. I've done a little
Dude,
bit.
that had to be like ANA or AHP. How do you get close to an individual like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was
I
also
heard
like the hearts
stories.
and minds shit too. Like I deployed with a group of the dudes who had already came back from it, and it was more like hearts and minds. They had like cake ass buildings to live in and shit like that. So it was really like a hearts and minds where somebody just, wiggled into, got past
Yeah.
security and
Too
a
bad.
lot more.
So, okay. So after where I could have sworn you had gone to Okinawa.
Yeah, so no, I went to Okinawa 3 times. So I was
Oh, okay.
so I was in 2-3 from 2014 until 2019. And during that period of time, I did 3 UDPs with them. My first UDP was in 2015, in the summer of 2015, that June, I believe we deployed. And we
With
went
the 31st MEU or what?
No, first UDP. So we just
Oh,
like flew out there. Yeah, I've never done a MEU. I would like to at some point. I just haven't had the opportunity. It just hasn't, it happened.
Yeah,
I'm
it
sure
has to
eventually.
happen. So you were there with 2-3 when it got retired? You were there for like this?
No, I was in Quantico when it got when the unit got disbanded. It was 2022. I believe it was April or March or April of 2022 is when 2-3 actually like rolled its color, like cased its colors and disbanded. And I had left them 3 years prior to that in May. And so I was actually in Quantico at the time, like at the basic school up there for like officers. And I remember seeing the videos on like Instagram and Facebook of them deactivating 2-3.
Was that like a part of force design?
Yeah, it's part of force design. So
It was necessary. That island was not holding. They had to keep somebody in deployment constantly because the island was so small, and it wasn't a good logistical setup, to be honest, at all.
Yeah, it's a lot different. Like, I mean, you constantly had 2 battalions on island and 1 battalion was deployed. And the 2 that were on island, out of those 2, one of them was typically in the field or something like that. And the other one would be in the rear. But now they just moved it around. So now they have the 3rd Marine Littoral Regiment, which is like, MLR or 3rd MLR. And basically they kept 1-3 and they just turned them into like basically what you would consider a battalion landing team, essentially. So think of like the 3rd MLR as like a MEU that stays composited permanently and doesn't
Huh.
ever not become composited. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of like what it's like to a certain degree, because like 1-3 is there, but they're always like the ground combat element of the third MLR, and then you've got like third or CLB3 that is the logistics combat element for the MEU if they go out on ship anywhere or anything. But I think they still do UDPs, but they also do a lot of other stuff because we've got that base in Guam now.
Yeah,
I'm sure that they'll start using that in some way. I don't know
definitely.
how exactly.
Yeah.
Couple new
There's a
bases
lot of
coming into the
opportunities.
Philippines
They're trying
too.
to stop doing just UDPs to Okinawa over and over again. They want to do some different stuff, like doing some like austere training and island chain environments and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
How
mean,
is Guam oriented? Is Guam like kind of oriented towards China? Is that like a
it's all in that area, bro. It's
yeah?
that in South China
So that
Sea,
would make
some
sense.
hotly contested islands, and the Philippines are beefing right now currently with China. So it makes sense
Oh
that
yeah,
we
I saw that.
start easing our way in there. I mean, we just got some new bases coming up in the Philippines. I think it's two, if I'm not mistaken. But it's definitely, a region that you can see that we're putting focus on.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, Guam is like in the northern Mariana Islands, and so it's actually directly east of the
Gotcha.
Philippines,
Gotcha.
but it's like kind of in line with Hokkaido.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like much further west than Okinawa, and it's actually a little bit further away from everything than Okinawa, but I guess it's like a good middle ground between like, Hawaii and the Philippines, or Hawaii and Okinawa, you know.
Huh. Okay. Well, so kind of backtracking a little bit. I mean, being that you got in 2013, you've seen the Marine Corps. I mean, me and Dre have as well, but you've seen the Marine Corps change significantly. Um,
Yeah.
what do
Yeah,
you think
definitely.
about that, man? I mean, I'm not the typical guy that just thinks, oh, the Marines, we're not the same as we used to be. The young kids just don't have it like the old heads. But
Yeah.
I mean, things have changed significantly, and I mean, touch in on that a little bit if you will.
Well, I'd say that we have a lot more technology available to us, and we have a lot more high tech capabilities than we've ever had before. Typically, you don't see a lot of Humvees anymore. Most of the infantry has dual nods now. They also have, most of the guys in the infantry have like some sort of like over the ear protection as well,
Yep.
like Peltors. A lot of them have to procure that on their own, out of their own pocket, though, because
Come
it's
on.
not
You
it's
gotta
not fully
remember.
supplied yet. However, they do supply all the guys in the infantry high cut Mitch helmets from Ops Corps.
I saw that.
So those are good. They, for the most part, most people, from what I understand, have like the M27 IARs from HK, with suppressors on the end.
Yep.
So that's a capability. They just have a lot more technology. They got drones. They got all kinds of other stuff. Like they're working on like a bunch of robotic stuff to like do unmanned vehicle type things. They have like these little go-karts called UTVs that are kind of like Polarises that they
Saw
can
that.
take around and like do like
Yep.
all kinds of different types of mission sets that you wouldn't be able to do with an MRAP or something. But I would say that obviously there's going to be a lot of changes from every 5 years to the next 5 years.
Of course.
Like if you look at the 1980s, like people probably got away with unbelievable types of things that you would never get away with in 2010, right? And
Facts.
also in 2010, you probably got away with stuff that you would never get away with today. And they've cracked down on a lot of things like hazing and
Oh yeah.
you know
Mm.
um
Sexual assault. I see
yeah, sexual
every
assault is
base
a
is getting
real
their own
big thing.
coordinators and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, they've tried as hard as they can to combat these things, because it's just
Good.
like it's been such a big problem
It's a
for such a
problem.
long
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
um you know as far as like whether or not they're softer today than they've ever been, well, I don't know. Every generation says that. Like, if you look at Vietnam, we lived in squad bays in Vietnam, right? We didn't have like our own barracks room, and so in the 1980s or whenever it was when we started getting our own barracks rooms, the guys that were in Vietnam were probably like, look how soft these dudes are. They're getting their own barracks rooms, right? And now it's like, you know, if you were in the early 2000s and you lived in like these, you know, rat infested mold covered barracks, and you're looking at like the types of barracks that people have now, you're probably like, wow, they're super spoiled because they don't have to live with mold covering every square inch of their room or whatever. It's just like a matter
I hear
of,
you. I hear you.
it's, I guess it's a matter of perspective, you know. I think that there are certain things that are not tolerated that used to, that some people could argue where it's like, hey, this made them tougher. But at the end of the day, it's like, some of those things are just like, we did stupid stuff and people just kind of got away with it. I think that right now the overall quality of training has improved drastically between, you know, 2000 and 2023 because of the technology and the amount of opportunities we've had to like, you know, iron the edges out, smooth the edges out and stuff like that. And I've talked to guys that are in 1-8 right now, for example, who have, they've been training extremely hard and they're super motivated and like they are ready to go. Are they still going to have like, is it still going to be kind of a rude awakening? Like when you first get into an actual combat scenario, I don't see how it couldn't be if you've never experienced that before. Right. But I do think that overall we are more prepared now than we've probably ever been.
Really?
Yeah. Personally, that's just my personal belief. And granted, there's a lot of weird stuff that people talk about that's going on. It's like, at the end of the day, like the people at ground level, they're focused on like, what are we doing right now? Because like at the end of the day, like the commanders and the troops, the lowest level, understand that the purpose behind the Marine Corps is to fight and win our nation's battles. I do believe that that is still like at the heart and at the core of what people are doing, at least in the infantry. Now, support MOSs, maybe it can get a little harder to like find that level of motivation for what you're doing because it's harder to see, you know. But if we go to war, we're all going again. Like everyone's going to go again. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're in supply or in logistics or in the infantry. Like we're all going. If the infantry's going, we're all going. And they're going to target logistics because that's how you cripple an enemy. You know, so they're going to see action too, just as much as anyone. So, you know, the only way you can really know what it's like to experience that is to actually experience.
Of course, that's a tough question, bro. I mean, it really just depends how you look at it. And no matter what, as the times change, you have to adapt. You have to change. Otherwise, you're a miss. I mean, you're if you don't, it's almost you're lacking to a certain degree. And I can understand that completely. But being right now, I mean, technically, we're in a peacetime corps. But how can, I mean, even in someone in your position, man, we have multiple engagements going on right now. How do we look at these engagements and learn from them and kind of plug and play as because look at what's going on. I mean, they're in Ukraine, they're implementing trench warfare, but they're also using drones to completely overcome trench warfare and drop ordnance on things. Like the way that war is evolving is not only extremely fast, but it's going in ways that I would never imagine. I keep saying this in every podcast that I always think when I was told, like as a young Marine, that when warfare was going to evolve, it's going to be directly ground pounding, like guys on the ground effect. But it's almost it's disinformation now. It's hearts and minds. It's using the news and media outlets to sway the people to believe certain things about who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. It's how do you look at that from a perspective as a young officer as yourself and utilize it for for a pro or for a positive to ready your Marines in a certain way. And that's a long-winded question. I apologize.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Really, when it comes to the information operations that are, being conducted across the globe, we have a real opportunity to use all this footage that you're seeing on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, on whatever, on Twitter, on Telegram. and use it the same way that a football team would watch playbacks of the
Nice.
other team playing, right? And that's exactly what they're doing to us, because they're watching our playbacks to see how we play ball, and we're doing the same thing for everyone else that's out there, regardless of what side of the what team they're playing for, right? Because we can learn the hard lessons that they're learning in Ukraine
Exactly.
right now by just watching video of
Definitely.
them conduct operations. And it's been extremely valuable for us as a nation, like, and as a war fighting force, to be able to see these things. Same thing could be said for any of the countries in the Middle East that have any type of conflict going on them or going on in them, because they're still posting stuff to social media all over the place, or sharing it to Twitter or Telegram or whatever. And we're able to learn from their mistakes without having to actually experience that. Now, granted, we're gonna, like, the first people that go into any type of war scenario, like the first people that get there are going to have a really rough time no matter how trained they are, because they're going to learn a lot of real hard lessons about how that specific enemy is choosing to conduct themselves in whatever operation they're conducting. And that's a tough spot to be in, but at least we'll have some kind of general level of awareness on their tactics, on things they do, whether that be like, hey, look, if we call for fire on a location in this enemy's territory, their counter battery strategy is to level the entire grid square that call for fire came from. Like, that's their SOP. Or if, these guys are known for just having gigantic, large armored columns, and they are terrible with logistics, and they all run out of gas on the freeway or whatever. Just knowing like what they do and what things they're good at, what things they're not good at, and how we can like exploit their critical vulnerabilities and things like that. So that's a huge benefit to seeing all this social media. Now, as far as like the information operations aspect, I think just exposing, because when you look at it, like young kids and just young adults in general, most of us are spending like a large majority of our time on the infinite scroll, right? Just scrolling social media, whether because nobody reads magazines anymore.
Nope.
Like if you're sitting on the toilet, or you're waiting in the waiting room for your doctor's appointment, if you're pumping gas, or if you're just like hanging out waiting for something, waiting for the bus, people are scrolling. They're just like scrolling on their phones. And the more positive stuff that you can put out there that has a positive impact on people, and also gives people perspective on just American values, on culture within the military, on the fact that you can still be a human being. You're not like a robot once you join the military, things like that. Then it just kind of exposes people to a different narrative that they may not be getting exposed to from their teachers at school, or from their parents, or from their friends. Because like not everyone's from an area that's like a military town or near one. So this is like a real good opportunity to basically just give people a different, view, different perspective, and I think there's benefit to that.
I agree. Well said. Now, being as, I mean, what I keep saying it. I mean, you came in 2013. Now you're still in. You came in a time where social media really wasn't as prevalent as it is right now. And being you, I mean, you have a very large following on social media. So, what do you think about that? Is it good? Is it bad? How do you use that to I don't to as a pro in today's Marine Corps? Because really it wasn't, I mean, when I was in, it was kind of looked at as a con. You know what I mean? But you could definitely take it and implement it for we couldn't even take pictures when we were in, and now it's just all over the place. And I think a lot of guys like me and Dre, we look at it kind of indifferent, because we know that it can be used, for good, but we see people take advantage of it with some TikToks here and there. But I mean, you're definitely in a position to utilize it for a pro. And how do you think you can do that?
Well, for one thing, by just setting the example of how to be a good human being. That's about as simple as I could break it down, honestly. Just like, Most of my stuff is like I try to be lighthearted about things.
I
I try
know.
to make jokes about certain things. I try to be educational with certain things. I try to be involved in some sort of philanthropy just about every month. Like I try to go from one fundraiser to another, like, and I got lots of people reaching out to me about that kind of stuff, because I think that that's also, you know, providing service or contributing to nonprofits and organizations that help military members or vets or um, people that are within our community is I think that's an important aspect of just what we do in general, because like a lot of people join the military for the aspect of service, right, and providing service and like serving the country and serving the nation. And maybe there's collateral impacts that are positive that like provide the incentive to do so, like getting a free education out of it, or getting paid out of it, or getting to travel the world and all
Of
this other
course.
stuff. Like, and you can do all that stuff, but I think that it's important to also realize and cognitively be aware of the fact that nobody cares more about active duty and veterans than active duty and veterans. Just the same way that nobody hates on active duty and vets more than active duty vets,
That's a
right?
fact. That's a fact.
And so I think that it's important to like maintain this constant drive towards like helping people and having a positive impact on people, whether that be teaching somebody something that day, or making some silly joke that somebody could be scrolling and just needs to decompress or whatever,
Of
and they
course.
see something funny on their phone and it's just like, that's cool. Or keeping people up to date with current affairs, because I think that's important too, because like especially being in this business, like people should know what's going on around the world. People
Of
should know
course.
what's going on, and
Mhm.
obviously like I keep away from politics. I don't talk about politics on my platforms at all, because then that's going to alienate an entire group
Yeah,
of people
absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
follow me. So I stay away from that stuff. I don't talk about that stuff at all. Which that's another piece that's important. It's also the UCMJ that you have to be apolitical, because like the military shouldn't be utilized by any political party to gain any type of
It seems like no
advantage.
matter when you do that too, it just turns negative somehow,
Yeah,
so to speak.
exactly. And again, it just has to do with like I don't want to alienate anybody. I want everyone to feel welcome here. If you've served, if you've like got friends that are serving, or family that are serving, or in some way, shape, or form you interact with service members or have something to do with military service or veterans or whatever, then like I want everyone to feel welcome. Or even if you just like find this stuff interesting, like if you like history, like I like history too. So if that's something that's interesting to you, maybe some of the stuff that I put up is interesting in that aspect, because some of it I talk about is like historical stuff.
Of course.
Sometimes I'm like analyzing weapon systems just because
Yep.
I think that's cool, like different types of armored vehicles or planes or whatever. Like obviously like avoiding anything that's like operational security, because I don't want to be like War Thunder and start leaking classified
Yeah.
information on the internet,
That was
right?
actually something I was going to ask you. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. No, I'm very careful about that. The way that I can tell is if you can Google it, it's not like OPSEC,
OPSEC. Yeah,
because
gotcha.
if you can type it in Google and that's the
It's
information you get,
known. Yeah.
it is no longer secure information. And if it is secure information, then I don't talk about it at
That's
all.
what I think is like the step back with social media, because I mean, being like a higher up officer, I mean, you have everyone getting on platforms and who knows what they're putting. That's one thing I always think about, because it's like some of the things that you open up social media and see is like, we just landed here. Our carriers are going here. And it's like
Yeah,
some of that information, I mean, can be utilized to implement, some kind of strategic element. And
yeah.
we definitely have to watch what we do in that aspect. So that's why I ask you, I mean, social media is a powerful thing nowadays.
Oh yeah.
And it can be used in negative, lights if someone wanted to. And
Sure.
we live in a time where we really don't even understand completely everything that can be utilized with this stuff, because it's new and it hasn't been done
Especially
before.
not the military. They're
Exactly.
still learning, man.
Yeah, you're right. That's funny. It's funny how you also said too that like whenever you're scrolling through like comments or anything, we always dog on each other so hard, but if anyone comes at us, we're all over them and we band together. You know what I'm saying? It's funny how
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah. No, I like that about it. I mean,
I do
that's
too.
cool. you know, like, yeah, we do rag on each other, and some of us are worse about it than others. And obviously I don't ever like, one of the things I try to do is I don't ever like try to dox people or talk about like specific people or individuals, because that doesn't do anything positive. And I definitely don't like to go after people, because I want to, like, again, I want to like have a positive
Of
impact on
course.
people. It's not going to be, it's not going to have a positive impact on anyone if I'm going after somebody. Like, it doesn't do anything positive. So
Of
I
course.
stay away from all that negative stuff. And if people are, you know, there's a lot of haters out there. If they want to hate on me, they can hate on me. I'm not going to interact with it or
For
engage
what?
with it.
There's nothing to hate on you for, dude. You're positive. There's nothing that you.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't
Heroism.
have time to really like. I don't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
have a
yeah.
lot of time to worry about what they're doing if they're doing it. But people send me stuff occasionally, so I don't know. Maybe it's less now than it was before. But point
I think
is
there's
I'm
always that.
involved
There's
in
always
stuff.
that thing about trying to be the hardest military guy out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he
Yeah,
didn't do what I did, so he's not a military guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
yeah,
That's it's not proactive. It doesn't do anything. It's like,
yeah. It's like,
okay,
oh, he
bro.
never went to Afghan. He never got to go to Afghanistan.
Okay,
Like,
bro.
obviously, like what a you know
Actually, no.
what a
Back.
flaccid person. You
No,
know what I
back.
mean?
Actually,
It's
back
like, hey,
as
I didn't
men.
get to choose to go to Afghan. They said,
Not,
hey, welcome to 2-3. You're going to Oki 3 times. So I was like, okay, that's the way it goes.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. I hear that. That's definitely a stipulation that's out there right now, though,
Yeah,
especially in the Marines, dude. Because
yeah,
if apparently if you don't deploy, you're not a real Marine, which is it's ignorant at the end of the day. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, I hear what they're saying to a certain degree, but you don't have any control over that. It's not something you can
yeah,
choose or not choose. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, honestly, dude, I think that you're gonna get a taste of something that is coming soon, and I don't know exactly what that will be, but I mean
yeah.
that was actually one of my questions. If we were to go into a combat element, where do you see yourself being most useful, or what do you see yourself being implemented as?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, I was in the infantry for 5 years, but now I'm in like logistics and supply chain management. So
Which is important though,
it is.
especially
Yeah, it is.
when it
It
comes
is
to China,
important.
dude.
Yeah, it is important. And I mean, honestly, like, I don't care where I go as long as I get to work with Marines and as long as I can like lead Marines, because like that's, and also take care of Marines, like make sure that they're getting taken care of, like, and not just like, not, when I say that I don't mean like baby them,
Of
but
course,
make sure that
do it the right way.
they're getting physically taken care of. They got their needs are being met. They're getting paid. They're not like um being taken advantage of for their time. They're not having their time wasted. They're looking out for each other, you know, mentoring people, teaching people stuff that, like, mistakes that I made in the past that maybe they don't need to make the same mistake, like educating people on how to get promoted faster, like all this kind of stuff, you know, that that's rewarding to me, like to be able to like help other people succeed,
Of course.
makes me feel good.
See
And
that right there,
same
that
way
right
that,
there, what you just said right there is so important.
yeah,
I mean, I've seen so many great leaders and so many just leaders that have just the wrong North Star, if you will, focused
yeah,
on the wrong things, focused on ribbons and achievements and bettering themselves when they don't realize you need to invest yourself in your Marines to really be put at that platform. And I see that in you, man. And that's honestly one of the main reasons I wanted to get you on this platform because we need more leaders like you where common sense resides and you really just focus on the guys and pushing them in the right direction because I'm sure we've all seen bad leaders and we know what that can do. And
yeah.
and I'm glad that honestly I'm glad that we have guys like you in the Marine Corps right now because it's needed most definitely.
I
Um,
appreciate that, man.
all
What
right,
did you
so
study in college? Sorry, Nick. I
no, go
didn't
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
because you went to you went to become an officer. What did you study in college?
Exercise and sports science. I,
Nice.
I made gym rat, bro. Like,
Gotcha.
gym is life for me.
I
That's
love it.
that is a huge part of how I maintain my level-headed mental health is
Of
from
course.
fitness. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't. There's a few things I don't do. I don't drink alcohol. I haven't drank alcohol since like 2008. I don't do any mind-altering substances of any kind except for caffeine. I drink coffee. I drink the hell out of coffee. Like the hell out of it. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I live a very straight and narrow life, and the way that I take care of my mind is I make sure that I allot that time to go to the gym, to sit in the sauna for 25 minutes and take care of my body. Because if I don't take care of myself, there's no way I could possibly take care of other people, right? So that has to happen no matter what. Like I have to make sure I'm making time for that stuff. And that's a good lesson for other people too out there, because like I know there's probably a lot of people that might be in like codependent relationships, or they might be in like positions where they're putting more into other people than they are on themselves. And it's like helping other people and putting a lot of energy into doing good for other people is great. 100% support that. You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of other people. You know, and that's just a lesson I've learned over time, like from beating my head against the wall, or whatever metaphor you want to use. You know what I mean? But and granted, like again, I'm not like the best leader by any means. I've had guys that they were in charge of me that were like gods among men, and I felt like I would never be able to even be close to filling their shoes or their boots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then I've also had like leaders who were, you know, infamous, that were just like they gave me an example of what not to be like, because I needed that example as well. So I just try to do the best I can, man. And like, I'm going to mess things up. It's going to happen, and I'm going to make mistakes, and it's going to happen. That's unavoidable. I try to do the best I can. I try to do right by the Marines and by the sailors that I work with. And you know, at the end of the day, like, if I can do something to have a positive impact on even just one person through all this nonsense on social media that I do all the time, then it was worth it. You know what I mean?
Boom. I like it. So, I don't know, I mean, you kind of spoke on it a little bit, but being in logistics, man, I think I read something recently that logistics is like one of the most important MOSs right now because of what we're kind of pointing into. And it's almost, to a certain degree, officers are taking over for staff NCOs to a certain degree, because staff NCOs get to a certain point and they realize that they can get paid a lot more in the civilian world. So they kind of don't keep going, and we have a disparity when it comes to staff NCOs. So officers are kind of taking over in that light, or in that aspect. Have you seen that to a certain degree, or is logistics, I don't know, is it in the tough time, if you will? Is it because, I mean, I know we're not trying to talk politics or anything, but I mean, let's be real. Everyone's pointing at China right now, so obviously the Marine Corps has to war game it to a certain degree. We wouldn't be the Marines if we weren't. So I mean, getting over to China would be a significant issue. I mean, granted, to get that far, we have to pretty much be a mobile gas station. You know, that, I mean, at the end of the day, oil and gasoline is probably the most precious thing that we have. I mean, I don't think enough people, like, yeah, you know, Marines our infantry's the best, and it's all sexy, but they don't realize how much goes into getting all the shit over there. So, I'm sure you've seen a little bit of that. Talk on that a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, so I know that the good thing about, well, first off, we probably do logistics better than any country on earth. And the reason I know that is because you can see like the incredible things that we accomplished with our campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan, pushing into somewhere. Now, holding it and maintaining it, that's different. That gets more into the politics side, which that's not really
out of our hands.
Yeah, it's not in my hands at all anyway. But as far as like conducting operations and like, hey, here is your mission, we are better at logistics than anybody else on earth. And like the cool thing is that every branch, we've done so much joint service type deployments for so long now, like all of the branches mesh up really well, and they're able to work together to accomplish common goals. And that really goes hand in hand with like fuel, food, ammunition, all that stuff. Like the Navy and the Marine Corps, their systems don't necessarily talk to each other, but they figured out a way to like piggyback off each other, logistically speaking. So like, you know, even if the Marine Corps doesn't have all these like logistics hubs across the whole entire Pacific theater, the Navy has different various locations or ways of getting things to what from one location to the other. We also have like obviously Defense Logistics Agency locations in various spots, and they're able to help support all of us as well. And then on top of that, the Air Force and the Army. So we just got like all these different elements that somehow when they are told, hey, you guys are going to be working together, figure out a way to get this stuff to this place. And it might seem like crazy for the Marine Corps just by themselves, because like we have, I guess I would say, like limited capabilities on our own. Like, can we do stuff by ourselves? Yes, 100%. That's what the Marine Expeditionary Unit is. That's what the MEB is. That's what the that's what the MAGTAF is, right? We're able to operate in austere environments on our own,
Honestly, yeah.
away from everybody. And we have all of our own support chain network and everything. But when you start putting other branches with us, like we start to find like, oh, wow, we can do all this stuff because we've got blue dollars, we got green dollars, we got purple dollars, we got all these different dollars coming from all these other agencies, and they have different assets that we may not necessarily have. And then we all kind of get together and we figure out a way to solve problems. And I think we're just better at that than anybody else, to the contrary of what a lot of people might think. Like, because, you know, I think after the evacuation of Afghanistan, people wanted to like rag on us across the planet, including our own citizens, right? For whatever reason. And then we don't need to get into the politics, that whole thing. But the fact of the matter is like we got in there and we took over and took a foothold in a very large area of land in a very short period of time. It's just that when you start trying to do nation building and stuff like that, that it gets very complicated. But if it came down to like, hey, we need to intervene and stop some like atrocities from happening, we would 100% be able to knock that out real quick.
Do you think that we got looked at that way about HKIA? Like the Marines fucked it up to a certain. I don't think that
I wouldn't word it that way. I think that it's the world's perception of it is that we like abandoned the country. And that's
obviously that's not the Marines called, you know, we only do what the politicians can tell us, you know that.
Right, exactly. That doesn't have anything to do with my opinion. That's just what, like, because I'm not even giving my opinion on it right now.
Of course.
Like based on what I've seen, like other people from like Europeans commenting on stuff about it, other Americans commenting on stuff. I think that the public perception is that we made mistakes, right?
Fumbled the pass a little bit.
Obviously, obviously, I don't have like an opinion to provide on that stuff, but I think that it's the way that the world perceives certain things. They might make assumptions about our military and our capabilities as a military. But at the end of the day, like most of those people that are making those types of conclusions are not in the know. They don't understand like what our actual capabilities are and what we're able to do. When the full cogs are turning in the wheels of war.
I think it's real easy to Monday morning quarterback stuff like that until you're actually in the scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like when somebody's watching exactly the same thing. It's like when somebody's watching a UFC fight and they're like,
exactly.
"Oh, I would have
knocked them out."
Okay, you wouldn't have. Yeah, you never
would have done shit. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing, man. It's the same kind.
That comes. I think that ties into social media a lot too, because honestly, everyone that ties in usually it's all opinions flying around. It's everyone's opinions of what they would have done or where if they were in that scenario, how they would have done it differently, and you really just take all that stuff with a grain of salt. But I mean, I think us as Marines, we all looked at that like, fuck. It just sucks that we were, because honestly, things just pop off like this. And I think that could have been much worse, honestly, if that wasn't mitigated by the way we did it. And you know, there was a lot of eyeballs on that at that time. I mean, Bagram, that's a huge airfield. That's a giant location. That's pretty much one of the most pivotal locations over that we had in Afghanistan at that time. And I mean, the amount of people that were stacked up all over that was just an absolute disaster. And honestly, I think it could have been a lot worse. And
I'm only looking at it from like a individual perspective
Of course.
level, because
I
I
hear
had
you.
friends who
I
were
hear you.
there, and I know they did everything they could to do the best they could. You know.
I hear you. It's a tough thing to talk about, dude. Like, I mean, no matter what you say in this, someone's gonna be like, "You're wrong. This is what I think." So, I mean, you can only just give your honest opinion, and that's what we're doing here. But, well, okay. I
I
don't
wanted to go back to some stuff about the logistics, just because I'm
yeah,
curious
please.
on logistics officer's position on this. Because personally, I don't think that we have the best setup that we need for
Yeah.
manufacturing. So we kind of talked about it earlier with the Ukraine war and the Russia war. If anything, we've learned. I've been keeping pretty close track online too, just being on the ground with a bunch of stuff that's getting posted. Bomb just drops on somebody, they upload it in the next hour. So it's pretty crazy to see it. But from my perspective, it's been almost something to learn from, that it's been really a war of production, because it's almost a stalemate. You know, you have these equipment and you have the technology, and it's almost been a stalemate. I want to say the Russian forces are exactly where they were when it started, and Ukraine is it's just basically a war of production. So the United States, we do our production a little bit differently. Some other countries, they have it nationalized, where we basically hand out contracts to the private industries so they could make the equipment and stuff like that that we need. So in terms of if it came down to, you know, an unfortunate war with China, which, you know, we would probably definitely start, which is, you know, another debatable conversation. But if something came down to a war with China, or just two powers again, and it came down to a war of production, the fact that we don't have enough people, the fact that we
Yeah,
privately outsource our production to these companies,
it's a good question.
how could we scale our production in order to stay competitive in a fight like that? What do
Yeah.
you feel, you know, and how do you feel about the way we outsource our production? Because I've been producing an idea out on the web that we should at least, you know, certain percentage, and we can build up, but we should nationalize the production of weapons, where we have a form of the military, like the Space Force, but we'll call it like the military manufacturers, where it's weapons are produced at a lower cost because we're not having to pay profits to the private corporations, the CEOs and the stockholders, all getting millions of dollars every single year in profits. So we'd be able to make it more efficient. Not to mention, if something popped off, like the power grid went out or food got scarce, who has all the weapons? Yeah, the military has some, but in reality, it's Raytheon, it's Boeing, it's Halliburton, it's these companies, Honeywell, that have the real weapons and the technology. So if they wanted to bob wire and say, "Yo, we're the new force in town," I feel like it's a little bit dangerous. I know we come from a narrative with our history with England and stuff, like fear the government, 100% facts, but also we should fear these private industries
It's a
who
fact.
are getting billions and billions. It's almost $1 trillion now. It's up to like 900 and something billion. So it's almost $1 trillion of our money every single year is going, you know, it's like half of that budget actually is going to these private industries to make these weapons. I just personally feel like from a business or logistical standpoint, like a maximization standpoint for national security, that this may not be the best setup. But I'm curious what you have to say, bro.
Well, to first off, let me start this response off by saying I am far from being like the subject matter expert on the entire supply chain logistics of the entire United States government. I have no idea like how a lot of this stuff works. I will say that the military industrial complex that we have established here is extremely hungry, and if something top off, it's going to, because corporations are so closely tied with federal government, the money is going to be there and the production is going to be there and the push and the energy is going to be there to produce whatever we need to sustain ourselves. Like, we're going to be good because it's all these companies and corporations, it's in their best interest to make sure that America has what it needs and America's winning, at least in my mind. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I'd say
I
that
because
mean,
a
it's
too.
a
lot of these
profit
guys,
motive for them. They'll make more money too.
well,
Yeah,
yeah, they're going to make more money. It's in their best interest to make sure that we keep in the fight and that we have everything that we need and that we are being supplied with everything that we need to have to conduct our missions and stuff. At least that's what I would think in my mind, like, because a lot of these companies, like corporations that were founded in America. Now, if it's a corporation that's founded in another country and based in another country, that may be something different. I don't know. But as far as like ones that are based here, like, you know, Raytheon or
Halliburton.
Halliburton
Yeah,
or whatever, Lockheed Martin,
General Dynamics.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
George
them.
Bennis, whatever.
They're sick, but
Any of these
they
guys,
take our
it's in their
money.
best interest to make sure that we, as the American people and the American military, have everything they need, and also are winning because they are going to be making more money from that. And what they'll do is, because we have a lot of private contractors that we hire on when we pass our budget, like that, like the private contractors that work for these companies end up getting paid money that was allocated
Yeah.
from the federal government to
Yep.
pay these corporations, right? They get contracts drawn up. And so, you know, I also think that if production needed to jack way through the roof, that they would just hire more contractors to offset it, and they would pass a larger military budget. I don't know anything more than that really, as far as like how they would manage it. That would be my guess if I
I mean,
had
we
to.
saw with COVID when we needed the respirators that it was to do it.
Yeah.
Healthcare system is similar. It's not controlled by one large entity, and
Yeah.
then it's basically outsourced. So I don't know. I'm not too convinced that a good idea. I definitely know some of the senators and Republicans that are focused on this issue have been pretty loud on Twitter that we should make sure that our manufacturing of our parts, because sometimes some of the part of the missile might be relocated from a different country. And
Yeah.
so that, in a sense, if we are in a supply chain crunch or something like that, we don't want that. We want to be able to domesticate all of it. But how do you feel about the idea that, I'm curious to get some feedback. I try to ask people that have some skin in the game on this idea. So, you brought up some good points that the profit motive would be there and stuff like that. But also the profit motive is what, creates lobbyists, and their job is to make sure that we're going to war, or make sure that we're dropping more bombs, or make sure that we're using more here and there to, make more money and stuff like that. But what if we put a section, maybe 25% of our manufacturing capabilities would come from the actual military itself? So what that would do, we always have an issue with gear. You're talking about some of these soldiers had to fund some of the ear pro on their helmets for themselves. Well,
Yeah.
that's a funding issue. So if you don't have the profit there, because nobody, staff sergeant making profit, the captain's not making profit, the admiral, whoever's in charge of this whole division, like Space Force is a new one, make a new one called the military manufacturers. There's no profit being made by these individuals. Everyone's running on an enlisted and an officer salary and running it like the military does. So then, $300 million would get us actually equivalent to about $600 million, because there's no profits being made. You see, we could like really efficiently we could, instead of arguing whether we should have, 10 of this or 20 of that, we can do it all because we save money now the way we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's nationalized. So I'm curious what you think about that. Maybe just a certain percentage of our capabilities.
Just like make sure I'm understanding you. You're talking about like having the military produce some of its own armaments.
Exactly. Like a branch in the military would have the big ass plants with the gigantic molds that can mold steel doors and can make weapons and bullets and guns. And we have people, that's your job. Your MOS is a 9970, and that's a damn, you make M4s or something.
Yeah.
So we don't have to be, because if we made it, it would cost X amount. If the private companies make it, it costs X amount plus the profits, plus the upcharging, plus advertising. I see Honeywell, all these guys all of that goes into the cost that they're going to take to the government. So we could double our supply in a sense if we did it more efficient and it was nationalized, and there was no profits allowed in that sense.
Yeah, but the person that's making the profits usually is someone very high up in the chain. That's the
Very.
reason.
I mean, look at Lloyd
saying?
Austin, Biden's boy.
That's a
Lloyd
trick.
is on the board of Raytheon. That's
exactly.
conflict of interest big time. But that's something that younger leaders like us, especially, we've got a Marine Corps officer here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Us have to eventually get to the positions of leadership and policy that can start putting in these ideas. I've never heard anybody say we should nationalize some of the
I haven't either.
weapons. This is my idea. This is what I'm saying. Other people have ideas that are good, but we have to put ourselves into these situations where we're trying to, make this system better.
Of course. I get you.
Yeah, honestly, like if I'm being real, I don't know how they would do that. I mean, it sounds good. Like obviously, like if we had a way to, increase our production capabilities without having to pay contractors for it and like do it with the organic military itself, like, yeah, that would be beneficial. I just don't know
But why aren't we doing it already? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think it's probably just because I don't know if it's feasible to get the manpower. At the end of the day, like the biggest expense in the military is the cost of people, you know,
Those
which
are
is
good
why
jobs for the economy. Like that's better
yeah,
than having people hang off our fucking airplanes coming out of Afghanistan on some dumb shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Like
true.
there's a better way to use our money. If we've got to put our money into giving 1 million more jobs that are great paying jobs that have health insurance, that take care of kids, and you could raise a family on a military salary, then let's do
yeah,
it. We don't need to
yeah,
go drop bombs in this country or go give more money to Ukraine and Russia. Let them fucking handle their own shit. Like, can we
I
not
hear
focus
that.
on building um, our own manufacturing capabilities for one? I mean, we've been talking about in and out with China and all this. I mean, it's gonna come down to logistics. You've already said it.
yeah,
It's really I was in war. I did 3 deployments. It's a logistic battle every single
yeah,
time.
Yeah,
The
that's
United
true.
States has that power. So why aren't we focused on our manufacturing capabilities here at home when it's not just manufacturing for the economy and like goods and stuff, but like for national security? I feel like
yeah,
the government should have some sort of control over this instead of outsourcing 100%. Because
yeah,
we have friends that are at certain some of the friends we deployed with, they're at certain bases that are training facilities, and they're getting the top of the line new F-35s, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 additions on them and stuff like that. But the guys in the back, the Marines, they're only trained to fix the 3, 4 additions ago. They're not even trained yet to fix these ones. So then now they have to call in and hire contractors to pay even more money to come fix
yeah,
the new stuff that we're not trained on. It's almost like a scam. I mean, we were
Of
talking
course
about
it is, dude.
in Afghanistan. I mean, I think what it showed, at least me, was that it's a scam in sense of resources. Like we left billions of dollars of resources out there because we could just pay for it and make more. Why are we doing that when we can be putting healthcare, money at home? China's investing all their money into Belt Road Initiative, to Horn of Africa, to Latin America, building partnerships. And I just feel like we're not really taking advantage of this power and money that we have, and we're kind of like a fading empire because we're not using like that money to build our own infrastructure. It's unfortunate, but like, can we focus on our logistics at home?
yeah.
That's
I mean, man. It is a very complicated beast for
Yeah,
sure.
it
Like
is. That's fact.
I don't know what the right answer is for any of this stuff. We are facing there's a lot we're facing that doesn't seem to have proposed solutions for them, especially in regards to supply management and logistics. I mean, you've seen the chemis shortage the Marines have been
Yeah.
having.
Yep.
That's just one example, like a breakdown in the supply chain somehow, which I don't know how that happened or what
Yeah, yeah.
caused or what. But I mean, like, you know, we gotta get our ducks lined in a row, because like if push comes to shove and we do need to go back to war, we got to be capable of sustaining
Facts.
our force. You know,
I think we've
Facts.
been
I don't
so
know.
focused on
I'm not
that
sure.
external training and making sure we can deploy into this part of the world in such and such time. And but it's like, again, if we really went down to it, it's going to become a logistic production thing at home. So like, let's make sure our economies are set up for that. That seems like a part of national security, but our focus is
Yeah,
foreign policy, foreign policy, foreign policy. What about domestic policy, my guys?
yeah, yeah. No, you got to. I mean, you definitely got to take care of the home front too. I don't have enough situational awareness, or I'm not informed enough to really know what a solution is, because it's so freaking complicated, the whole entire thing. You know
Crazy.
what I mean? Like
You
this
plan
shit
on
ended
staying
up
in? You
being,
staying and actually doing that? Like getting
yeah,
to
I'm
that?
mistaken. Yeah, I
Yeah.
plan on staying, because, and part of the reason why is because I can do a lot while I'm in that I may not necessarily be able to do when I get out. So if I can stay in and have a lasting positive impact on as
Of
many
course.
people as I can while I'm in, I'm going to do that. And then when I get out, I'll continue the work and continue to do what I'm doing now. And in the meantime, I'll still be doing the social media stuff. I'll still be working with different people. I'll still be working with various nonprofits. Um, I really need to. I would like to get to a point where I am not working as much as I am, because it is getting to a point where it's so unmanageable that I can't.
Are you end up in like your Marine Corps career where like it's hard to say no? Like you want
Um,
you know what I'm saying? Like you have so many people like
You need to get
asking
promoted.
you to
No.
do this, asking you to do that, and you feel like you have to. I don't know. I feel like I hear that a lot from young officers.
No, I don't feel like that in my Marine Corps career. I think most of the I don't know, I have a work-life balance, but that's only because of self-inflicted issues, not because anybody else is putting too much on me. Like all the extracurricular stuff that I do outside the Marine Corps is all because of my own decisions.
So you're a
I
perfectionist.
don't, yeah, I don't have to do any of this stuff for social media stuff or any of that. Like that's all my own self-inflicted stressors that I've put onto myself because I'm trying to ultimately get to a point where I can have a actual, real, tangible, large impact on people.
I
Like
get
if
it.
I could get to a place where I could give away like 10, 15 grand a month to just nonprofits to just like help
That'd be awesome.
do good things for people, I would like to get to that point.
So that's where
And
you see yourself. That's ultimately like the goal.
yeah, at some point I would like to be able to get to a point where I'm, able to monetize enough where I can just give away tens of thousands of dollars a month to like veteran nonprofit or active duty nonprofit organizations that I know personally, that I vetted, that I know are doing good work for the community and helping people. Because that's what I'm good at. I'm good. Like I want to help people. And so that's what I spend most of my energy towards because like I feel like that's something I'm good at. Now, whether or not I'm actually good at that, I don't know. Maybe I'm not, but what I feel like I'm best at. So that's what I pour the most energy into. As far as like the geopolitics stuff, like, I'm not really sure. I don't really spend a whole lot of time researching the complexities of the Byzantine bureaucracy that is the federal government. I just
Yeah.
don't have the energy for it.
Like
It's
you bash your head against the wall a few times.
I could
could've
learn
done it
about it,
when I
but
was
I would
young.
just literally be cross-eyed. So
Yeah.
what I do is instead of that, I just focus on like what is happening, like current affairs, that stuff. Hey, this is something that's going on.
What you can get your hands on.
Yeah, like stuff that I can like actually reach out and touch and like, okay, I understand what's going on here. I have like some advantages and disadvantages of doing this. This happened the other day on this day. This certain thing occurred. Like, obviously making sure that I don't like obviously violate OPSEC or anything. Like if it hasn't been talked about on Google or it hasn't been like publicly released in a press statement, I don't talk about it. But like, ultimately, like at the end of the day is like I would like to be able to do good for others and give. I want to be able to like give away stuff to people to help people, specifically in our community, because that is what gives me the greatest level of gratitude.
Well, not only that, you kind of see like how it's growing a little bit. Like just because I'm a small part of it, I see how like veteran like nonprofits and different like like even you, we kind of have our own little community that's kind of slowly growing and going in a certain direction. And I think that's awesome that your goal is to kind of try to facilitate your own little group of that. As you
Yeah.
said, you want to vet them and like because you have to. I mean, there's so many
Yeah,
people that either fake the funk or they're not really what they say they are. So I can understand that completely. But
yeah.
I'm pumped to see you grow, man. And I want to say thank you for coming on the pod, and I look forward to talking to you again, man. I appreciate it. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. Appreciate you having me on here, man. It's again, I apologize. I know we had talked about doing it at 1, and then I got
Don't worry about it, bro.
made
All
by a
good.
million things,
You're good.
and then like, I'm just like I am too busy. Like as soon as I get off here, I got like probably another 4 hours of work that I am self-imposed. It's self-imposed work, but I need to do that because there are like certain quotas and thresholds for like daily work that I set for myself because
Gotcha.
like I want to be productive. I want to keep pushing. I want this thing to be successful because I have a strong desire to have this thing succeed so I can start doing the things that I want to do. Right. So
That's dope.
but again, I get lost and sucked into all
No, you're
this
good.
stuff and I
You're good.
forget how much time I have and how much time I don't have. And I'm just like way all over the place. So I just appreciate you having me on here.
Of course.
And I'll be happy to do it again sometime.
Do you have anything you want to plug or anything you want to talk about?
Really, I mean, if people want to find me, they can find me just my Instagram, Kagan.Dunlap, my YouTube, Kagan.Dunlap, my TikTok is Kagan_Dunlap, and that's pretty much it. You can probably find my Twitter too. All my pages are verified, so if you see a picture of me and it's not verified on the profile, it's probably a scammer. So be careful of that because
That's
there's
a
a lot
fact. They're all over the
of people
place.
impersonating
Yeah.
me out there. Like
Roger that. All right, sounds good.
Thank you
Well,
for
there
your
you have it,
service, bro.
everybody.
Appreciate you still serving in there for us, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Right.
it. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, episode 89, Hard to Kill, Kagan Dunlap coming out. All right, right. Have a good night.
Yeah.
This is always awkward when you're ending it because everyone's just like staring, waiting for it to stop.